Hey everyone, welcome to the last Jurassic Live ranking video for 2.17. It's going to be a short one because there's only 11 apexes. But yeah, I decided to go ahead and do it the same day as the unique one because I had time, and it won't take very long. So yeah, um, there are 11 apexes. Apex is the highest rarity, which means this is of course the last ranking. Um, like the other rankings, this is unboosted and full meta environment, PvP only. And reminder that this is my list, and my list is not the right list. So yeah, Apex is the rarity that will probably be like I have the least experience with. I don't have any Apexes, although I have fought all of them except for Circus and Tyrannokyrie. I might have even fought Circus once, but I don't really remember. But yeah, let's get started. Um, Number 11, COS Maximus. Now, unlike the other rarities, there is no apex that I consider to be bad. It's just that there is a worst apex, of course, because there has to be a worst apex. But I don't think COS Maximus is all that bad. Um, so it's got really good base stats with good resistances, I guess. Well, kind of okay resistances, I guess. Predatory Peck is good. Field Slap is good. Piercing Reach is not good. Ravenous Rampage is good. Obstruction of Flight is good. It's just got generally good stuff going for it, but it doesn't really work. It gets destroyed by tanks. There are way better cunnings in it, and overall, it's just doesn't have that stable of a position right now. Number 10, Sarah Magnus, the Old King. Up until 2.10, this is the best creature in the game. And it was kind of crazy, basically. And barely anything got changed about it, except it had a little bit more crit chance, a little bit more armor, a little bit more speed, and had 1500 base damage. But that nerf hit it so hard. So yeah, it's a swapper. It's got the two best immunities in the game, but nothing else. Good base stats for a Ceratopsian. And then Group Acceleration is really good. Precise Rampage is good. Drop and Stunning Strike, of course, really good. Stunning Strike's fine. Acute Stun is just mediocre. You mostly are going to be doing Swap and Stunning Strike, and then Group Acceleration, and then Precise Rampage, and then if you're not dead, getting out. So yeah, that's Sarah Magnus. Number 9, Hadros Slugs. A tanky healer with really good damage output, but again, power crept. High health, decent damage, low speed, good enough resistances. It's got 2 multipliers with medium resilient counter, which means it does a lot of damage. And it's also got a pretty decent heal, too. Not much more to say about it, but it is a decent resilient. Number 8, Morton Rex, the first Apex, and yeah, it's Rexy outclasses it. Like Rexy is Morton Rex on steroids. Sure, Morton Rex has more damage and is faster, but Rexy's tankier and has a higher crit chance and's got better resistances and definitely a better moveset. Alert Fatal Strike is a really good move, but honestly it's not as good on Morton Rex as it would be on something with much less base damage. Fierce Impact is Fierce Impact. War is alright, but definitely nowhere near as powerful as Dominant War, and Fierce Rampage is Fierce Rampage. If it didn't have this priority roar, it would be last place. Number 7, Gargotriax. It's a Cunning Apex. It's actually pretty alright, but again, power crept by other Cunnings. Good health and damage, but surprisingly slow for a Cunning. Does have good resistances. Group Accelerate Cunning Strike's pretty solid. Cautious Impact really good. French Nullifying Rampage is alright. Groups into Distraction is eh. It's French Nullifying Rampage is near unblockable. It's only blockable by Phlox and Armor. Cautious Impact is really good for turn 1. So yeah, it's a somewhat tanky cunning with high damage, but it is pretty slow, which does hold it back a bit. And of course, it's just worse than a lot of other cunnings. Number 6, Hydroboa. This one is a little different. This one is cunning fierce, even though it says it's pure cunning. It is absolutely cunning fierce. So yeah, it's decent health, decent damage, decent speed, a little bit of armor, and a high crit chance. So some good resistances. Instant Nullifying Strike has got an instant basic attack. That's cool. Slippery Willard is kind of mediocre, but oh well. Precise Impact is also mediocre. Fabled Fangs, Priority Bleed usually isn't very good, but honestly, I'm willing to. It's a priority impact still. I'm willing to give this to Hydroboa because it's a priority impact and that's usually pretty good. It also has that attack increasing counter. It's basically persistent counter but better, and it has the best on escape in the game. Constricting Rampage. It's an attack 2x, heal 1x. I think it used to be a heal 2x, but I guess it changed it, but it's still super, like, insanely good on escape. Yeah, it's pretty versatile, but not all that straight powerful. It is a little overrated, but it's still pretty good. There's a pretty big jump between Gargotriax and Hydroboa. Right above Hydroboa, and honestly I could see it being put below Hydroboa, whatever. Gargotriax, another one that is very versatile. This is the newest Apex, and therefore the creature I know the least about, because it's just barely anyone has it. The only people that have it are people that paid a lot of money for it. IDGT. Yeah. Good base stats. Also surprisingly has armor. I don't know why. Good resistances too. And a very interesting move set. Death and Strike, good basic move. Dispersed Raking Impact. It's basically group cleansing Raking Impact. Merciless Alert. Alert Squall. Alert Squall is broken. So basically, it's a cleanse, speed increase, crit increase, and then it forces the enemy to swap. You can literally get rid of a bad matchup by just using this move. And when it's threatened, it heals some, but removes the crit increase. But honestly, whatever. You're just gonna use this move for the for like the force swap. It literally, that's just kind of crazy, honestly. Like, you can literally swap out a bad matchup and just try again. It doesn't beat that many creatures, but it's just that automatic swap is crazy, and it also makes it to where you could just at will use its on escape, and its on escape is really good. It's a shield and a dodge, and it makes it 100% resistant to all like debuffs for one turn, all negative effects. So that is kind of crazy. It also has a counter that doesn't do any damage, but it breaks the enemy's shields and gives you a shield, and also reduces their speed a little and increases your speed a little. And it's Swap Frosty, but no one really cares about that. But yeah, this thing is very versatile and also not that powerful, but that force swap is just insane. But a big jump in quality from Trainer Kyrie to number 4, Octopus. This is the hardest creature in the game to get because it's made by a whole bunch of exclusive ingredients, and it's an Apex hybrid. The first of the 2 Apex hybrids, and the weakest of the 2. This thing's main thing is just being insane on setup. Overall, alright stats. Decent resistances. Snowstorm Smack is a really good basic move. It apparently doesn't break armor though, or pierce armor though, which is weird. Alert Arctic Blast is basically just a worse version of Alert Decelerating Impact. I mean, it's basically the same thing. It's basically the same thing, just with the less of a stun chance. I think. Alert Persistent Group Shields. It's basically Group Defensive Edge that's on Arctral except on Threatened, it shields by 100%, although not for not as long, and also gives you a crit increase. And then Shielded Devastation, which is Of course, it's Devastation, but shielded. That's really good. Also, it's Counter Power Heal. Swapping Deceleration. It's basically swapping Shattering Deceleration. You're not going to use it much, but it's there. And Healing Accelerate on Escape, which doesn't cleanse, but is still decent. Still there. It's still a heal, and it also speeds you up a little. But yeah, this thing's main thing is just being insane on setup. Most of the time, you need to set it up for it to be crazy, for it to be super good though. But once it's set up, it's kind of difficult to kill this thing. Yeah. Setup potential is this creature's main thing. Number 3, just above Octopus is Refinantum. For a time, this is the weakest Apex in the game, but then it got an absolute monstrous buff in 2.14 that instantly shot it into being overpowered. Like all these top 4 Apexes are overpowered. But yeah. So, crazy stats, really good resistances. Cunning Strike, which is typical for Cunning. Alert Nullification, which is kind of mediocre, but it is a null move, which is nice. Cunning Rampage for damage. Super Distraction is the best move in the game. I don't care what you say, it is the best move in the game. And even though it got nerfed, like, before the nerf, it got a 2.16, it had a 2-turn cooldown and a slight stun chance. But even with the nerf, it is still the best move in the game. It's still a move's dodge. It still distracts 100% for 1 turn. It still has bleed, and it still is a instant group impact with all of that. And it's on turn 1. It's so ridiculous. Also has alert counter distraction, which basically just adds up damage decrease slightly over time, and also swapping distraction. This thing is crazy. It's technically Cunning Fierce because it has bleed. So yeah, it's actually able to damage tanks too. And this thing is just a monster. Yeah, that buff they gave it was way too much. But, number 2, Circus. The second newest Apex, added in 2.14. And it's of course super powerful. This one being insane isn't quite as obvious on paper as Refinantum, but in practice it is insanely OP. So it's got good health, good damage, low speed, some armor, and a decent crit chance. Good resistances. I have no idea why it has the bleed and rend resistance, even though it's basically a tank. Also, it says it's pure Fierce, but it's really Fierce Resilient. And then Fierce Decelerating Strike is Fierce Decelerating Strike. Death Roll, it's an armor piercing bleed deceleration move. It also decelerates for 75%, which is weird. It only has 1 turn cooldown though, so that's pretty good. Bask is actually insanely good. It's a 1.5x heal, and of course with cleanse, because most heals have cleanse, with an attack increase and a stun and swap prevention. And its priority. So you basically just get a free heal and attack increase and stun them. And Vulnerability Rampage, which is, what do you think? Although it should have a cooldown of 1 though, because it's just worse than Resilient Rampage. Medium Shattering Counter. And No Escape Strike, which is basically just a No Escape Ferocious Strike. But yeah, this thing isn't as, like, obviously broken as Refinantum, but in practice, it is. And as it's just got insane matchups. But number 1 is Kylo Slugs. Most people I've seen put Circus to number 1, but I still think Kylo Slugs is better. I think this is the second best creature in the game behind the Alberto Sevilla that we discussed last episode. So yeah. Decent health, lowish damage, low speed, and good armor. Distract Immunity for whatever reason. Its resistances actually aren't that great, although of course Distract Immunity is still good. Really it's the moveset where it's just OP. Spear Vulnerability is good. Hostile Glow is basically like a worse version of Taunting Resilient Group Impact. It's basically Taunting Resilient Group Impact, but without the group part. But it's still good. Alert Instant Shielded Strike, you know what that is. Resilient Shielded Rampage Run is insane. So basically, on turn 2, you do a Rampage and then apply Vulnerability. It's either Resilient Rampage, which... Resilient Rampage and an auto swap. Basically, you just apply Vulnerability and then instantly swap. If that goes into a swapper, that swapper is doing extra damage. It also has Rake and Counter, because gotta get that extra damage with the counter. And Shield Alert Stun, which is super powerful. It's of course, a shield and a stun in one. And its ability on escape, so unless your swapper is Paracetops or Magistercurus or Irritator Gen 2, then the swapping's not dealing damage to you. So, yeah. It's a crazy tank. I think it has one of the best matchup spreads in the game. It's got great swap support potential. If there was no shield or rampage run, it can survive a while. It can do a lot of damage. It has a lot going for it. But yeah, that's a quick ranking because there's only 11. Hope you guys enjoy. Like and subscribe if you want, and I'll see y'all in the next video I do, whatever that is. Goodbye.